Okay, cool. Are we recording? Is the red dot on for everybody? Cool. So, hey guys, so you guys know Tanya, and she is doing a really cool organic content training, which, obviously it's not something that we cover in the course, but I think this is a really good way for you guys to kind of get an idea of where the lead generation that we talk about in the course kind of falls into the grand scheme of local marketing. And organic content is something that I do a lot of, both for clients and for Millennial Money Man. So this is really interesting for me to hear her talk about this, because I know this is one of the things that she really, really specializes in. And I think that this is one of the things that you guys can do for yourselves also on your own marketing business. And maybe something that you can do for your clients as well. So I'm not going to take up your whole time. She's got a whole presentation. I'm just gonna sit back and learn and see what she does, and I'll interject as we go. So
you'll be technical support as well for when I can't work something. Right. So I'm just going to share a screen here and show you. Can you see that?
It's right now. It's yes. Now I can see it.
Can you see it? So you should see my PowerPoint presentation here. This is a presentation that I've used a couple of times recently for webinars for fitness professionals. So basically, just to guide them through what is the best strategy, how to use social media organically, and then the only sort of investment they have then is their time. So for people that are just starting out new businesses, organic content is really the only way that they're going to grow at first. So what I have here in this slide. So why do we use social media? So generally, the only reason that people are on social media, you go to be entertained. You use Facebook, Instagram to connect with people and to find stuff out. Social media, the element social, people tend to forget, and they just see it from a business perspective as a selling platform. They forget that the reason people are here in the first place is a distraction from work. It's where they go to be entertained. It's meant to be light-hearted. It's not meant to be selling people. And that's one of the biggest issues with advertising. I think paid ads, it comes across as salesy straight off the bat, and it puts people off. So if you can make your paid advertising look like organic content, you're going to get a lot more response from it. And it's a good idea to learn how to identify and create organic content in order to be able to use that in your paid advertising. So the reason that we use social media anyway for our business is because it's the easiest way to reach your target audience. There are however many billions of Facebook users, and we all know that our target market is directly on Facebook. That's why everybody's invested in this course, because we know that we're going to be able to reach more people by using Facebook advertising. And we use it organically to create brand awareness, so it gets people's eyes on our stuff. So we can use our business pages, you can use client business pages to promote everything that they do. It covers brand reputation, so making sure people see that you know what you're talking about, that you know your stuff, you're a leader in your field. It positions you as the best in the business. If your Facebook page presence is greater and more interesting than your competitors, then you've automatically won over a lot more clients or customers that way. And we use social media to create brand loyalty. So we create communities that love our stuff. I'll talk a bit more about influencer marketing as we go on, but to create micro influences within local areas is incredibly important. I've made myself, I've made a complete nuisance of myself in local Facebook groups, on discussion forums. Everybody knows who I am and what I do, because I am continuously commenting on things. I'm giving advice. I give my opinions if I want to. But everybody, I've been doing this consistently now for 7 years. And so everybody knows who I am and what I do. I can't walk down my local high street without seeing someone that knows me from social media or knows me from my kids' school, which annoys the hell out of my kids. But it's vitally important to make sure that when you're using social media, specifically Facebook, for your own business, that you use it in a way that creates authority. So that if you're giving advice to people, you become an authority. If you're making comments or giving opinions, always have in the back of your mind that you are doing this from a professional perspective. Facebook now, you cannot, when you're using it as a business, you cannot then let your personal thoughts and opinions spill over too much into anything that you do, because we all know from this Cambridge Analytica stuff that what we share online gets fed to so many different places that it can potentially destroy your business if you're seen arguing with the ex-husband on a different part of Facebook. So it's a good idea to make sure that you've always got in the back of your mind that you're using this to promote your business. So what makes social media posts effective? So I was talking to you about this yesterday, Bobby. There's a guy called Jonah Berger. He's written this book, actually. I've got it here, which you can see backwards now. But it's called Contagious, and it's how to build word of mouth in the digital age. And it focuses mainly on this acronym at the bottom here that you can see on the slide called STEPS. There's 6 elements or ingredients that make ideas and content popular. This is how he sees things. And it's so interesting when you break each one of these down. I totally recommend that you go onto Amazon and buy this book, because it teaches you so much about simple campaigns that you know are ingrained in your brain, and you can't understand why something so simple worked so well. But when you read this book, you'll see that there's the Budweiser "What's Up" campaign. That should never have been as successful as it was, because it's rubbish, really. When you break it down, it's actually really rubbish. But the elements of it, "What's Up" at that time was a way that young dudes were going around and greeting each other. So Budweiser took that trigger and ingrained it into their campaign, so that every time guys were greeting each other and going, "Hey, what's up?" Budweiser literally flicks to the front of their mind. And that's one of these initial acronym steps down here, the trigger, the T element. So if we walk through these, each one. So the first element or ingredient that you can think about when you're trying to make a organic content worthwhile to your audience, why should they pay attention to what you're doing? One of the elements that you can factor in is something called social currency. So with your post, if you're sharing information that makes other people look good, so you know that if you always want to be the first one to find out about something. Now, in my job as a social marketer, I make sure that I'm in the right forums and in the right places to find out new changes to Facebook or Instagram straight away. Because as soon as something comes out, I will then want to share it with my peer group to say, look, this is brand new. I'm sharing this with you. That makes me better at my job than you. It's basically, it's sharing things that make us look good. So if we've got information that can make us look more intelligent or make us look more business-minded, it gives us kudos with our friends. And that's the social currency part of this, an acronym. An acronym. Sorry, it's late. And then the second element here, triggers, as I was just talking about with the Budweiser "What's Up" campaign. Top of mind, tip of tongue. So if you've got triggers built into any of your campaigns or to your organic content that makes people remember who you are and what you're doing. So triggers could be visual. So you've got the Nike logo is an obvious visual trigger. The McDonald's M sign. These have been, you can now put those on their own and people automatically know exactly what brand you're talking about. So what you need to think about when you're posting and you want to invoke like the trigger response in someone, it's sort of sights, sounds and smells. Now you're not going to get smells using Facebook, but you can use those triggers to get people to remember your content. So if you have branding colors always make sure that you contain branding in your important content that you want people to see, or your logo, or even down to your brand messaging, the way that you share your stuff, the way that you talk, and your values can all be very good triggers. Like I know now, Bobby, that one of the triggers that reminds me of you is that GIF that you continuously use when when we're doing the UK versus US.
Merca. Yeah, that's what I search, Merca.
Yeah,
it comes up. I love that.
Yeah, and I now see that everywhere. I'm now seeing it everywhere because it's top of my mind all of the time. Every time I see that, I think Bobby.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so that's obviously a trigger. And now GIFs, the use of GIFs. So GIFs now remind me of the Facebook Side Hustle group. So when you continuously use a trigger, it will make people remember who you are and your brand. It takes on average, I think, 8 times for an internet user, 8 connections for them to remember who you are. So you need to make connection with one person at least 8 times for them to remember who you are. I don't know how that statistic came about. I don't know how that's been tested, but it's one that's it's bandied around quite often.
Now, I have a quick question for you. Do you ever try to do that within your lead gen campaigns, the paid campaigns that you're doing? Like, do you try to keep a theme if you're working with a client over time, like the same theme over and over again in the copy?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a comedy club that I've been working with for 6 months now, and they're a local comedy club. And I will always make sure that I have their logo overlaid on any of the imagery that I use. Very, very small, but it's blue and pink, and it's very obvious in the logo. So that's always there, and I always put it top left of the image, because when people look at something online, your eye automatically goes top left first, then scans across the screen. And I also use the same language as my client would use. So this comedy club is known for its controversial language. So I will always allude to swearing at some point within the text, because that's what their audience like. So I will always try and carry that across. I've got my new website will be launching. Well, it was supposed to launch 3 months ago, but I've had to have it all recoded. But when that launches, I've got an element of my logo, which is speech marks, but they're in the shape of my initials, so TF. So that will be a running theme through everything that I do. So if I use bullet points, it will be the TF speech marks instead of normal bullet points. So that's kind of my trigger.
Well, I'm sure what some people are maybe wondering is how do they pick out those things about their client that they've never met before, that they're just starting to work with? Is it something that you study? You study how they do things already, or do you ask them questions of like, what do you guys do? How do you kind of pick those things out?
Yeah, so a conversation that I generally have with my clients when I first start working with them is I ask them for their brand vision, their brand values, and brand guidelines. So, and if they can't tell you what they are, if they don't know their own brand guidelines, they're in trouble. You're going to have real issues advertising their business if they don't know themselves what it stands for.
Right.
So if it's a family business and their brand values are family, friendly, parent-centric, you know that within your language and your messaging, that's the trigger point that you're going to need to use. That's what you're going to have to use to get to your clients. There was the car rally stuff. So you know that with car rally companies, if their brand values and their brand messaging is of a certain type, you're going to have to stick to that. So it's really important to, when you nab your first client, to say to them, sit them down or call them up and say, what does your brand stand for? What are your brand guidelines or brand vision? And just a simple question. And if they're passionate about their brand and their company, you'll get so much information from them with just asking them what their values are. Who are they? What do they do?
Yeah.
It's a really good starting point. We come on to the next one, which is emotion. So when we care, we share. Now, like I just said, if a brand or company are passionate about what they do, what they sell, what they provide, it's going to make your job as an advertiser much easier, because they can give you so much content. It doesn't have to be imagery, but they can give you stories. They can give you their journey, their mission, how they started. And that is content in itself. Even for advertising, if you're advertising I'm just trying to think, a product to new startup companies, you can share how you started your business and what mattered to you and why your product is going to be of value to them. So you can always find a similarity between businesses if that's the way that you can word that. But emotions are really quite tricky. There are certain emotions that are shareable and some that aren't. Some work really well and some don't. They're called, I've got it written down here, physiological arousal, high emotions. So you've got positive, high arousal emotions like excitement, humour, and awe. They're your positive, high arousal emotions. Yeah. And then you've got your negative, high arousals, so anger and anxiety. Now, they're the ones that are going to get you the best reaction from a post. Or excitement, humour, anger, or anxiety. The ones that people don't give a damn about are contentment and sadness. So stay away from those. It's easy to say what people don't like. So they don't like contentment. So they don't like that you're perfectly happy in your life, in your marriage, and what have you, and your business is going fine, and they don't care. It's really not an issue, and they don't care if your dog's died either. It's like, yeah, that's sad, but I'm not going to share that. I'm not going to get involved with that. But they do care if you've had an argument with your ex-husband and you post about it online and everybody goes, yeah, this is juicy, I'm going to get involved in this. And people love to jump onto anger and humour. If you can make something humorous, you're going to win an audience over really quickly, providing that your humour isn't too edgy. Know your audience, I think, is really key with that one. Advice. Yeah. So public here is another element. This is a tricky one, really. It's built to show, built to grow. So if you have a product that can be shared almost not anonymously, but without thought. So something like, I've got it written down here. I did some reading through the Jonah Berger book to refresh my mind earlier. What have I got here? If a product is good, so people talk about it, word of mouth conversations. Here we go. Here's a really good one. So we've got something like, in 1997, there was an increase in the sale of Mars bars, which is a candy bar. And the reason that the sales increased was nothing to do with a marketing campaign. It was literally the NASA Pathfinder mission was really big news at that point. And it was a mission to Mars. And that was literally the only thing. Yeah. But if people can see that others are using and sharing your ideas or your brand, it makes it much easier for that to go viral. So people like to see, so what else have I got written here? Monkey see, monkey do. So if people can see that you're having every time they see you, you're drinking a particular brand of coffee, or you've got a particular cap, the more times they see that, the more times that they're going to be, I like your cap, where did you get your cap? And that's how branding and public branding works. If something's easily observable, it's going to be shared without effort.
Right.
And then we have practical value here, news you can use. So if you're sharing something that's like educational or of use to someone, that's even better. So this is the whole thing with when you advertise real estate, for example. If you can contain a PDF that gives you 15 tips to make your home more saleable, you're sharing something that is of value, that they can use that. You're more likely to have luck with that than just a standard post with no value added to it. And the last element here, stories. Information travels under the guise of idle chatter. So stories, it's the earliest form of entertainment that exists. People have told stories for centuries and centuries and centuries. You need to tell stories about your brand, about your client. Like we were saying earlier, the brand value is so important. passionate elements of the story. The owners, people want to know who is behind this brand or your client. The small local towns, generally the more successful businesses are the ones that have owners that are friendly, are approachable, or get involved in chambers of commerce meetings. They get involved in local events. They're part of the community. And if you can bring that community online, tell stories about why this brand exists and what they stand for, how they help people, that is literally going to give you so much leverage with your ads.
That's huge. And that's for the people here, like kind of a tasty nug. If you read my blog posts on Millennial Money Man, almost every single one references my story in some way. And I'll usually try to do it in the beginning or near the beginning, because I want to bring people into my story quickly and then keep them kind of entrenched in my story. And that's one of the ways that I've been able to grow it so fast. So yeah, I totally agree. Story is everything.
Yeah, it just makes you relatable. If people know a little bit about who you are and what you stand for, how you've grown, they can relate to that and then apply it, and it just creates a connection. Yeah. And that's what we want. We want to make that connection between the client and the audience, and the way to do that is with the story in the middle and all of the other elements. Now, when I talk about making a post go viral, it doesn't have to have every single one of these steps here. Focus on one of them. Focus on the easiest one, I would imagine, here is the story. So spend some time talking to your client about what they do, who they are, how they've grown. And then you can use elements of that within your advertising copy. You can tell a story about the brand because you know who they are. I spend a good 8 hours with a client before I do anything online for them. So I like to find out how they speak, because I'm obviously representing them online. So I need to know how they talk, what they would say and what they wouldn't say, because there's nothing worse. I've got another slide here with some, here we go. This is a quick one. So annoying actions brands take on social media. Like the third one here is not having any personality on their accounts. Using slang and jargon. So if you suddenly start posting advertising copy with things like slang within that, it's not going to be authentic, and your audience is going to think, well, that's not authentic. I'm going to switch off to that. And it just creates discord between client and audience. So it's really important that you get your brand tone of voice spot on, and you can only do that by having conversations with your client, looking through their existing Facebook page posts and seeing what language they use, what context they use. It just gives you a little bit of insight, and more, it will give you an advantage over other companies that do Facebook advertising. If you can go and say, I know what organic content works, I know how to use your organic content to create relationships with your clients and your target customers, it gives you an edge over over companies that don't offer that. And we know at the moment that Mark Zuckerberg has been really pushing the fact that he wants meaningful connections and meaningful conversation on social media. He's going to give precedence to anything that has a meaningful reaction to it. Meaningful is a really broad general term, but basically he wants people to have conversations. He wants people to have conversations. He wants them to share stuff. So if you have content that does that, you're going to get precedence in the newsfeed. You're going to tick the algorithm boxes. It also, like I've said on this slide here, it gives benchmarks for your paid ad strategies. So if you've had great organic traction on your page, it's going to make your ad strategies easier. It's also going to make your ad costs slightly lower. I don't have stats for that. I don't even have like concrete proof, but I know that does happen, that is the case. Pages that I've worked with that post hardly ever, their advertising has taken me a long time to get alignment with their clients. You have to build almost a cold audience straight away, and it just makes it 10 times harder. Conversation-led posting is more targeted than traditional advertising. So we know that if our friends are having a conversation on a brand page, if we're friends with that person, we're going to have things in common. So more than likely that we're going to like the same things that they do.
Yeah.
So if they like that brand, I'm going to probably like that brand. So it gets you involved that way. So authentic messaging and content. I haven't got a slide for this, but I have got a load of notes that I made. So excuse me while I talk off of paper, but it's like
no, you're fine.
11 p.m. here. So authentic messaging. This goes back to brand voice and tone of messaging for your clients when you're creating ad copy for them. Authentic messaging has to be the key strategy for this. It creates trust. So the public messaging has to match the private messaging of the brand. That's what authentic is. So what you say online is exactly what you would say face to face or within your company behind closed doors. It's very obvious when the two don't match. So to create authenticity online, you have to have the same values, which brings us back to the brand values. So make sure that you're asking your client what these are so that you can convey that online. It needs to be transparent. So lack of transparency is a barrier for connection online. If you're pretending or you look like you're hiding information from your audience, they're going to be turned off to that. I'm just going to use something Kieran posted in the group earlier today about he had a couple of messages on an ad that he'd posted, and people were saying, oh, I hate it when they don't tell you what the price of something is.
I saw this one. I was hoping you'd bring this up.
Yeah, it's a fantastic example of authenticity and transparency. So we know that we want to drive people to the ad and to get them to click and leave their information, but they've worked out that's what you're doing. People aren't stupid. They want to know what the price is. If the price hits their budget, you've got a customer. So it's much easier for you don't have to do it on the page. You can click message and it responds privately. So I would always, if somebody's asking for information about the ad, I would always message privately and say, this is the price. This is what we provide. Here are our details. Then they can say, oh, that's too expensive. If it's too expensive, you've lost a sale, but you've had a connection with that person.
Yeah.
So they will still know what you do and what you provide.
Is your strategy in that case, would you respond to their comment and say, hey, I'll PM you, or do you hide it, or do you delete? I know you're against deleting and blocking, so do you answer it?
I answer it. So it will tell you if you message them, it will say page responded privately underneath. So people can see that you are responding. And generally, it really depends on the context of the message. If it's angry or confrontational or aggressive, I will still say, I'm going to send you a private message so that people come to the page and they go, oh, well, they're not ignoring these people. But I won't ever engage in an argument or discussion where people can see it. I take it offline, which is a really good strategy for customer service. You have to respond to everything. If people are just being trolls and being dicks, then just block and delete. Yeah. But if they're asking a question about the business, it might, even if it's coming across as confrontational, the way that Kieran's looked today, I would still say, I would message privately and say, this is what we do. This is how much it is. Are you interested? And they might say yes, they might say no. But the fact is that you've responded and you have created a connection of some kind.
Yeah, I love that, because those couple seconds of interaction might have just flipped them to a customer.
Yeah, I have had several occasions where I've turned a completely negative discussion into a very positive kind of, oh, your customer service is actually great. I really enjoyed, I'm going to come to your coffee shop and try stuff.
Yeah.
I had one of my coffee shop clients, they're brand new. 7 months they've been trading for. So it's a very new business. So they've had teething problems with people going in and having to wait longer than they thought or not having things in stock. And people go online to complain straight away. Yeah. They don't do it there at the time where you can solve their problem. Right. They go on Facebook and tell everybody what a terrible service they've had and these people are awful and what have you. And I will always kind of say, I hear your problem. This is what people want. They want you to hear their problem. They want to be acknowledged. And that's all that's needed sometimes. You just say, yep, it was terrible service today. We acknowledge that. I'm going to send you a private message so that we can deal with this and make sure that you have a better experience next time.
Yeah.
And I don't give them free stuff. I just say, next time you come in, ask to speak to the owner. We'll make sure that you have exactly what you want within the time specified, and we want to give you a better service. And it just makes such a difference.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good advice.
Yeah, it's simple as well. It takes a couple of minutes, but people are very averse to dealing with negativity online. But I actually really enjoy it. It's one of my favorite things is if I see someone trying to be confrontational. I've had it myself where people have dropped me a message saying, you're full of crap. You don't know what you're talking about, especially when I'm telling them that they're wrong on some aspect. The social media marketing groups that I'm a part of, it happens quite often. I'll message, like I'll get involved in a discussion and they'll say, no, that's wrong. And I'm like, can you explain where I'm wrong? And 9 times out of 10, they can't. They're just being douchey. But I like to change that kind of around and make it into a positive experience.
Yeah. I think that's one of those things you get more comfortable with as you work online more. Because I remember being shocked, like when I used to post stuff for just Millennial Money Man when I was first getting started, and people would say some like really heinous stuff to me, and I was like, it hurt me, and now like it doesn't affect you the same way. You just kind of look at it and go like, okay, this person's just being difficult, and then you deal with it.
Absolutely. You learn to grow a thick skin. But also a really good thing to remember, this is a bit woo-woo, this is a bit spiritual here, but people who behave in a negative way online are generally triggered by something that they don't like within themselves. Ooh. If you're invoking a response in them, it's because it's an issue they have internally. Yeah. They're not happy, or you're highlighting a flaw that they have, so they'll respond in a negative way. Right. So when someone's mean to me online, I always try and think they're doing this because they aren't confident enough to do what I do. So I always try and respond in a kind way. Yeah. And you just get used to the way that people are online. It's full of trolls, and these people just have no life, or they do it for entertainment. You just have to roll with it and ignore it. It's true.
Yeah. I've always imagined like when somebody trolls or does something like that, they're probably like the nicest person in real life. Yeah. Or just a really like, not anything like they are online. So I totally agree with that. People they just act differently online. But as all these, as all the students go through the course and work with clients, you just get used to that stuff. And then you just learn how to deal with it. But I think these are great strategies for it. And they are curious keyboard warriors. They are, but I don't even think it's because they're really trying to like go after people. It's exactly what you said. There's something that you made them realize in themselves that they didn't like. That's great.
Yeah, it's a trigger. And if you just try and remember that every time, even when people are posting something nasty or confrontational on one of your ads that you run, and you will come across it, there's no point trying to deny that everything's going to be peachy and roses. You're going to come across some real douchey stuff. Oh, yeah. You just don't take it personally. It's not aimed at you. They're just very angry people.
It's true.
They're very angry people, so you just have to roll with the punches. Yeah. But authentic messaging is basically you just keep things consistent, sincere, and reflective of the brand values. And that's literally what authentic messaging is. It's so important though, because it will create that connection with the brand, company, and the audience. And the more that is consistent, it's going to hit those triggers, and people are going to learn to like and trust. That's literally what makes people buy. They buy because they trust what you're selling. They trust the service that you're providing. If you've positioned yourself as an authority, or you've positioned yourself in your community as the best person, the most trustworthy, you'll get business over somebody who doesn't get involved every single time. So the next element I've got here is video content. I'm just going to try and find the right slide. They say that by 2020, 80% of what we see online is going to be video content. Yeah. So that's a huge, massive number. And I know through running alignment ads for some of my fitness clients. So what we do is we get them to film a video centered around their client avatar, so their target client. So they'll film a short 3 to 5 minute video about talking about what they provide that will solve the problems of their client. And they film the video, and we use that as a warm-up, kind of like an alignment. So we'll post that organically to see what happens. And then I'll use it as an awareness ad. And then we'll target the 3-second and 10-second views from that video to create pools of warm audiences.
Right.
And we use video content because it makes that connection much quicker.
Yeah.
If they can see who it is, what you do, how you sound, even what you speak, the language that you use, your accent. Certain accents make people more trustworthy than others, apparently. In the UK, if you have a Scouse accent, which is Liverpool, you're less trustworthy than someone from the home counties, apparently. That's how you sound. So it's really important to do a little bit of research with stuff like that. But and also, if you're the kind of person that drops a few F-bombs or is quite out there, quite quirky, and you film your video and you're like that in your video, you're going to align with your target client much, much quicker. You're going to eliminate all the people that are offended by the way that you speak straight away, and then you're going to have your complete client market right there. So video content is a really good way to make that initial connection with your audience. And to tell the story. So here it says, keep it short and use closed captions, which are subtitles. Really important, because most people view videos on their phone while they're going to work or when they're supposed to be working. So they don't have the sound on. So if you have subtitles, people are going to watch a video for longer.
Yeah.
It's really easy to do. There's a website called rev.com that does subtitles very quickly. I think you can even do it in YouTube. You can plop a video into YouTube and it will add the subtitles for you, and then you just download it and share it everywhere else.
Rev is great, though. It's pretty cheap, too, isn't it? I mean... Yeah.
It is really cheap. I found using the voice to text options on my phone never works very well at all. I don't know what accent it's picking up with me, but what the text that it brings out is never what I've said. So with video content, it's really important that you have a strategy. You should have a strategy for everything that you're doing anyway, because if you haven't got a strategy, you cannot measure what you're doing. So you should tell stories and create emotional bonds with your video. Make that your strategy, and you will know straight away whether you are hitting the right audience with those. Any videos that have been really well received organically on a page should be used for an advertising campaign. Anything that has been really well received organically can be used as an advertising campaign. So with your new clients, or even with clients that you want to target, look through their Facebook page, look at their videos and look at their images and see what's resonating with their audience already. And it gives you an idea for going to them and pitching. When you pitch, you can say, I've looked at your Facebook page. This post was done really well. We could use this in an advertising campaign to align you with this particular client. And they would be really impressed with something like that, because you've paid attention and you've shown an interest in what they do.
When you're saying find ones that perform really well, are there certain benchmarks that you're looking for, or is it just, are you going on feel or like what's obvious visually?
You can tell, you can see pretty much straight away, obviously, what is working really well. So anything that has sort of more than 20% engagement rate on the page is good.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good.
It is really good. You will know that if it's been boosted or not, because it will be very obvious.
Yeah.
But anything that has got sort of more than 20% engagement rate natively on a Facebook page is doing really well, because at the moment, organic content is probably 6% of your audience. Yeah. If you're lucky. And I did a training session yesterday with someone, 6-hour training session yesterday. And that was one of the first stats that I threw at her, like less than 6% of the people that like your page are seeing your stuff. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, less than 6%. So she was worried that she didn't have enough content to send out. And I said to her, you can repurpose your blogs every week if you wanted to, and you would still have new viewers. But it's a good thing to repurpose content. I would do every 8 weeks. Okay.
It's a good guideline.
Yeah, because as we say, it's a very low percentage of organic traffic that sees what we're posting. So you're going to see more and more every time you post it. And if people have seen it before and they're like, oh, wait, didn't she post this? They will comment. They may comment and said, we've already seen this. You get engagement from that. So it's you need very minimal content to grow your page straight away. People worry that, oh, I don't have enough photos to launch my page. I don't know. If you've got 5 blogs and a couple of images, you've got content for 2 months. At least.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've got here, try a video series. So focus on one problem your audience has and create a series of videos to solve it. So like time poor mum or shift worker I've got here. This is for a fitness professional. But you could do something such as, let's see, how-to videos, how to decorate your living room to make your house sell quicker. So you could do a series of videos, how to plump your cushions, I don't know. how to dress your window, how to make your garden look better having a series of videos to focus on a problem that you're solving is great. And again, you can use those as advertising campaigns. You can send them out, and if people are liking what you say, you can send them to an email address and then just keep hitting them with the same content.
Yeah. Is there a specific format, or do you have your clients have videos done professionally or just from their phone?
Honestly, an iPhone is so good. There are so many apps that can make. I like using. It's called Adobe Spark, and you can. I think it's free actually. I mean, I pay for Adobe Creative Studio anyway, but I think Adobe Spark is free, and you can make really, really swish videos just on your iPhone.
Yeah.
It doesn't need any sort of massive technology or editing. If you can afford to have them professionally done, of course, but it's not necessary at all.
Cool.
Right, so the last point I've got is client avatars and why we need them. So this is something that people need to think about with their targeting. It helps with targeting. Client avatar, your ideal client. So this isn't who your best buying client is at the moment. It's who you want to attract. Who would be, if you could have anybody as your client, who would they be? And then what you do is you focus your content and you focus your targeting and your message around this specific person. So we've got, I've got here, how do you define? So you need to think about things like age. How old are they? What gender are they? Where do they live? What do they do for work? How much money do they make? Are they married? Are they single? Are they gay? Are they transgender? Because you can be that specific. What hobbies do they have? Do they play golf? Do they go fishing in the Gambia? You have to be like, you can drill right down. What are their shopping habits? Do they buy luxury items? Are they Amazon.com buyers? Do they use Etsy? And what are their values? What are your client values? What do they hold dear? What matters to them? And I think if you know what matters to your client, your ideal client, you can solve their problems. You can sell your wares to them much, much easier. If your values align, it's perfect. And it really helps you to like niche your content. If you know exactly who you're marketing to, you've got an understanding of their needs and of their interests, and you can tailor your copy, you can tailor your imagery, everything to this specific person. So I know, for example, I like to work with fitness professionals. I like to work with male fitness professionals who are 38 years old. They prefer to market to women like myself. So I work with personal trainers that aren't interested in bikini fitness. I don't care about them. I want ones that market to older women who want to get back in shape. I like those fitness professionals because they market to someone like me. So I've made my niche very much like myself, but this Fit Pro needs to have certain values. I've made it very clear on the content and posts that I put out that integrity is massive to me. I don't like bullshit, and I don't like people that pretend like I'm sorry for this. I hate the word hustle. I don't like to be told that I need to get up at 5 a.m. to be successful. I don't. I'm terrible at 5 a.m. I'm an awful person at 5 a.m. So I make sure that the content that I put out lets people know that that's not me. I don't want to work with people that think that is important. Yeah. What's important to me is family, integrity, and connection and authentic behavior. And by behaving like that online myself, I'm attracting clients that do the same.
Yeah. I love that.
So yeah, it really does work really well. I'm sorry that I don't like the word hustle.
Oh, it's okay.
I am embracing it though. It does have very many.
I don't like waking up at 5 a.m. either, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah, no, it's not good. It's not good. 5 a.m. Nobody needs to see 5 a.m. unless they're feeding a baby.
Yeah. I'm not doing either. I'm not doing the 5 a.m. or the baby right now. So I'm 100% with you.
Yeah. Excellent. Right. I don't think I have any more slides no, this is all Instagram, which is no benefit to you guys whatsoever.
No, I think that's great. I think we covered a lot. And I think one of the cool things is this is one of those things that I see as people get more clients and they do this more. I think a lot of the things that you talked about, especially in the beginning, are going to make more sense to them.
Yeah.
And they can come back to this and watch it. But I think the stuff that's immediate, like the avatar, getting to know your client, how to deal with the negative comments online. I mean, that stuff is huge when you're just getting started. So I think this is great.
It is. I mean, the things that you and I probably take for granted and it's obvious to us and simple to us. Yeah. People that are just coming into it, it's really like an aha moment for them. They're like, oh, wow, I didn't know that I could do that. It's almost giving permission to people to be themselves and to do what they think is right, to what they feel. It's really difficult to break the internal workings of Facebook. Yeah. You can make a cock up with an ad and then just literally pause it and stop it. You can write the copy and make a spelling mistake is fine. It can all be fixed. Yeah. What can't be fixed is if you never make that effort. If you never step outside your comfort zone and you never make those calls, you don't communicate with your clients, or you don't put yourself out there enough, you will never, that's something that you just have to do. You have to do it. And you can use all of this stuff in promoting yourself, like when you're posting on your own Facebook profiles. Just remember that if you want people to react to what you're doing, you have to use some kind of incentive behind it.
God, that's so good. So we can take a couple questions. It's super late where you are.
Oh, I'm fine. Honestly, I've had so much caffeine today. It's no problem.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions? I know Kieran asked a long time ago, something about logos. He said, is just the logo enough? Can't find it. What do you say?
For a trigger, it's just the logo enough. It depends what the logo looks like. If the logo is instantly recognizable, yes. Like I was saying with my comedy club, it's very, very obvious because it's bright pink and bright blue. Right. So it's very visually obvious. If the logo is blur, then no. So you would need to use a different trigger, like specific messaging, specific tone, and values. Values can be a trigger as well.
Okay. Scott said, can we get the slides?
Yes.
Okay.
£700. Yeah, you can get the slides. What I'll do is I'll upload them into the group and then people can see them there.
Awesome. Okay. He said, or Sarah said, straight up asking for comments will it hurt your organic reach? What about asking?
Okay. Yeah. So this is called engagement baiting. There are particular ways that you can get around doing that. If you're asking a question that is valid and relative to the business, and you're not just saying something like drop your favorite emoji below. So things like drop your favorite emoji below, or tell me what color the hat you're wearing right now is. It's not a meaningful response. Right. So if it's a question that is meaningful and relevant, it's absolutely fine. And Facebook will actually probably serve it higher.
Yeah. Let's see. How do you use this to promote ourselves more?
Okay, so it's a really good question, Kieran. For years and years and years, I completely forgot to post on my own profile about what I do. I just used it as a way to tell people what I'd had for dinner or what program I was watching on TV. The good thing to do, talk about your day, talk about, so what I did before I came on here tonight was I posted on my personal profile that I was giving a live training to Facebook Side Hustle group. And people have seen that, so that people know that that's what I do. It's not specifically asking people to connect with me. It's just letting people know what I do. So sharing stories. So you can say, Kieran, you can use the fact that you're doing the side hustle course to get away from your terrible day job. And that this is providing you with more connections. It's providing you with more information. It's teaching you to be able to work for yourself and set your own hours. Don't be douchey about it. Don't kind of say, I'm going to be earning 10 grand by the end of blah, 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 because people will not relate to that at all. But what they will relate to is if you say, I am absolutely loving this course. I've met so many new people. It's given me the opportunity to do this. I'll be able to spend time with my child. If you share elements of what you're doing, this authentic messaging that I was talking about, it's really, really powerful. Video content, like I said, just share videos of what you're doing. You don't have to be too promotional, but you can take a video, you can do like a quick scroll of your screen with you setting up an ad and say, just setting up an ad for my very first client, loving this kind of work. And then people go, oh, he's doing Facebook ads. He can help me. Yeah. And it's just literally telling people almost on a daily basis what you're up to.
Man, so good. You've given a ton of really good information.
Thanks.
So does anybody else have any questions? Nuggets. So Kieran just said nuggets. Okay. Well, I think we're good. Okay, cool. So
excellent.
Thank you so much again.
Absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for staying up late for us.
That's all right.
All right, cool. All right, guys. We'll see you later. We'll post this in the group, and we will get the slideshow out as well.
Yep, I'll do that. No problem.
Cool. All right. Have a good night. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks. See ya.